Okay, so put away your calculators and let's test your basic math skills. So, hopefully, all of you out there remember how to do a problem like this. And if you don't remember, no big deal. I'm going to review all of this in just 1 second. But again, no calculators, and let's see if we can figure out this math problem. So, we have 2 3/4 plus 1/2 times 5/3. Okay, so that is the question, but we do have a multiple choice question here. And let's take a look at our answers. So A is 43 over 12, B is 3/8, C is 5 over 11, and D is 7. Now, if you have the answer, put that into the comment section. I'll share the correct answer in just 1 second. Then, of course, I'm going to walk through step by step and solve this problem. Again, the whole point here is not to do this with a calculator. I want to see how much basic math you remember. And if you forgot, no big deal. We're going to review all of this in just 1 second. But first, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John, and I have been teaching middle and high school math for decades. And if you need help learning math, check out my math help program at tcmathacademy.com. You can find a link to that in the description below. And if this video helps you out, or if you just enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe, as that definitely helps me out. All right, so one more time, here is the problem. Now, obviously, you're going to have to remember how to deal with fractions, okay? And a lot of people really just don't like fractions, including myself when I was learning this way back in the 1970s. So if you're like, hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, I could get this right, but the last time I saw a problem like this was 1978 or something like that. Well, I totally get that. But again, the problem is 2 3/4 plus 1/2 times 5/3. What is the correct answer? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that right now. The correct answer is A, 43 over 12. Now, this is what we call an improper fraction. If you have a mixed fraction as your answer, you want to go ahead and check to see if it's equivalent to this answer, but this is the correct answer. All right, now if you got this right, you definitely get a happy face and an A plus. Congratulations on remembering how to do basic math. And if you didn't get this right, well, this problem or my videos are not designed to make anyone feel bad in math. You certainly could be successful in math, but again, a lot of you haven't been doing this stuff for many years, so let's go ahead and quickly review. Okay, so 2 3/4 plus 1/2 times 5/3. So we are clearly dealing with fractions, okay? Now, this fraction right here is what we call a mixed number fraction. Okay, so anytime you have like 1 and 1/2, this is a mixed number fraction. Now, this next fraction is what we call a proper fraction. Now, this is in contrast to this one right here, and this is called an improper fraction. Now, let me go ahead and just ask you, can you tell me the difference between a proper fraction and an improper fraction? Well, take a look at the denominators. Okay, so right down here, we have 2 as the denominator, and here is the 3 as the denominator. But it's not just the denominators. Actually, I should, kind of start again as I explain this. Really, it's a comparison between the denominator and the numerator. So here, a proper fraction is where the denominator is bigger than the numerator. So just to be crystal clear, the top number in a fraction is called the numerator. The bottom number is called the denominator. So anytime you have a fraction where the denominator, okay, is bigger than the numerator, that's called a proper fraction. Anytime you have a fraction where the numerator is bigger than the denominator, that's called an improper fraction. And these type of fractions can be turned into mixed number fractions. So here we have 5/3. If I wanted to change this into improper fraction, all I would have to do is divide 5 by 3 and do the arithmetic there. Okay, so I'm not going to turn this into a full kind of course on basic arithmetic, but if you do need to review basic arithmetic, I will give you some specific suggestions in just 1 second. But hopefully all of you out there at least took a guess, right? So here we have a multiple choice math question. Just go ahead and take a guess. I was a certified professional expert in guessing way back in the 1970s and 80s. I really wasn't the best student at all. I pretty much, did the bare minimum. It wasn't until after I went into the Marine Corps and, picked up some discipline and then went to school where I actually started taking academics seriously. So I remember taking exams. I was like, okay, I'm just going to, my lucky letter today is B. So I would just finish my multiple choice questions 1 through 100 in like 5 minutes. It was amazing. I would just circle all the B's. Of course, I never really passed, but you get the idea, right? So, when you do have a multiple choice math question, for those of you that still have to take exams, if you don't know the math, if you're like totally lost, at least take a guess. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the actual math right now. And what are we dealing with? Well, we have a few things, right? So obviously, we have some fractions going on here. We'll talk about that in just 1 second. But we also have some mathematical operations. We have addition and we have multiplication. So these things here in mathematics are called mathematical operators, okay? Math operations, so addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And I bring up powers as well because we need to know the correct order to do this problem. Okay, should we add first or should we multiply first, right? Well, if you add first, you're going to get one answer. If you multiply first, you're going to get another answer. So knowing the correct order to deal with a math problem where you have different math operations involved is critically important. So we need to understand this thing right here, and that is called PEMDAS, right? So this is an acronym, and this acronym tells us what we call the order of operations. Okay, so if you have a math problem and you have different mathematical operations, you need to remember this little saying, PEMDAS. Okay, now I'm going to give you a cute little phrase here to help you remember this, and that is, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. One more time, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Now, I don't know what Aunt Sally did, but we thank her for her contributions to mathematics. Okay, so let me go ahead and explain this PEMDAS thing right here. This is a checklist, okay, and you're going to be going from left to right. So let's start off with P. So P stands for parentheses. So if you have parentheses in your math problem, in other words, if you had like 10 divided by 2 parentheses times 7, you're going to start where the parentheses are. Okay, basically you're going to do the math inside of the parentheses. Now, if you have a problem where there's more than one parentheses, and by the way, this P, this parentheses, technically means grouping symbols. So you can use brackets to group numbers together, or these kind of squiggly brackets like this. So if you see any of these, this means P. So if you have like parentheses and you have brackets and then you have some other brackets like this in a math problem, you're going to go to the innermost parentheses first, right? So that's what the P stands for. You're going to do all that math, and then you're just going to kind of work your way out from there. Okay, so we have to kind of check our math problem. Now, for parentheses, and the key to PEMDAS is not, every problem is not going to have everything that's on this list, but you need to review it. So we're going to ask ourselves, hey, do we have any parentheses? Now, of course, our problem doesn't, but if you do have a problem with parentheses, that's where you start. Okay, so E stands for exponents, but basically you can think of it as powers. Okay, so here we have 2 to the third power. This little tiny number in the top right is what we call an exponent. Okay, this big number down here is called the base. So 2 to the third power means take 2 and multiply it by itself 3 times. All right, so 2 to the third power, that is, of course, in the result of taking 2 to the third power, which of course is 8. But this part of the power, okay, is called the exponent. So that's what this E stands for. Now you might be saying, hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, this is confusing. Why don't they just put a P there for powers? Well, then we would have like powers or parentheses, parentheses. So it would be confusing, right? All right, so E stands for powers. So if you have powers, that's what we're going to do next. Okay, now what I'm going to tell you next is probably one of the most confused aspects of the order of operations. Now, how would I know that? Well, after teaching math for decades and grading well over 100,000 plus, well, I don't know how many test quizzes or tests, but it might be that many. I certainly don't track, but you see these trends through the years, through the decades, over and over again. And to be honest with you, I don't think math books do a good enough job. Some do, but a lot don't. And the next thing is, well, before I actually tell the next thing, let's just talk about what M, D, A, and S stand for. So M stands for multiplication, D stands for division, A stands for addition, and S stands for subtraction. All right, now a lot of you are out there saying, okay, Mr. YouTube Math Man, I get it, I get it. The next thing is going to be multiplication. We're going to do all the multiplication, and then we're going to do all the division. That makes sense, right? That's logical. Unfortunately, that's not the way it works. Okay, so how does this work? Well, the next thing on our little PEMDAS checklist here is M and D, or M or D. It's multiplication or division. Multiplication or division. So in other words, if you had like 10 divided by 2 times 5, okay, you're not going to do the multiplication here because we see division first from left to right. I need to make that clear. I don't know if I did, but I'm making it clear now. Multiplication or division, whatever we see first from left to right. That's the way it works. So in this case, I would go 10 divided by 2. Now, if I take 10 and divide it by 2, the answer is what? 5 times 5. Now, if I take the same problem and I multiply, I'm going to have what? 2 times 10, or so 2 times 5 is 10, so I'm going to end up with 10 divided by 10, which is 1. Okay, so if you can see here, you're going to end up with two answers. Okay, is the answer 25 or is the answer 1? Well, here you're taking the wrong step first, right? You're doing multiplication first because you have multiplication and division. That's the wrong step. Okay, we need to do division because that's what we see first from left to right. Again, if you understand this part of the order of operations, it will save you so many errors. It's not even funny. Okay, so that's what M and D stand for in terms of the order of operations. And A and S, addition and subtraction, work the same way. Okay, so now that you understand the order of operations, and hopefully you have some basic math skills in terms of fractions, well, we can put this all together and solve this problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. And our first step is what? Well, we have addition and we have multiplication. So we're thinking about PEMDAS, multiplication or division is certainly going to, be before any addition or subtraction. So we need to start right here and figure out what 1/2 times 5/3 is equal to. Okay, so how do you multiply fractions? It's actually pretty easy. So 1/2 times 5/3, to multiply fractions, all we have to do is simply multiply the respective numerators and denominators. So 1/2 times 5/3 is equal to 1 times 5. Okay, that's going to be our numerator as our answer, over 2 times 3, which of course is 6. So 1/2 times 5/3 is 5 over 6. All right, so that's pretty easy. And now we're going to talk about how to add fractions. And of course, this is going to get a little bit more interesting because we're going to be talking about the LCD. Okay, so let's go ahead and take the next step and figure out what 2 and 3/4 plus 5/6 is equal to, right? Because 1/2 times 5/3 is equal to 5 over 6. All right, now if you think you can add these two fractions, maybe you want to pause the video and see if you can get the right answer. But I'm going to show you this. But before I show you that, I'm going to show you this. And that is a request, right? I'm asking for your help right now. There's two words in my vocabulary. Hopefully you have them as well. And that is goals and help. All right. So I have a goal. Actually, I have a lot of goals, but one of my primary goals as somebody who just loves teaching mathematics is to reach as many people as possible. And YouTube is such a great platform for teaching mathematics. My goal is to really help out as many people as I possibly can. People that would connect with my teaching style. Now, what I try to do when I teach math is try to teach math in a clear and understandable and simple way, so everybody and anyone can understand. So that is my goal. But I need your help to reach those people. And the best way you can help this channel is actually just to hit that subscribe button. And if you're going to do that, hit that notification bell as well. Now, for those of you that want to review and relearn basic math, I have two great options for you. Actually, I have three. So the first is my YouTube channel. I have like well over 3,000 plus math videos. I cover a ton of stuff, a lot of basic math, a lot of algebra, and more advanced math. Matter of fact, I have over, well, I just said 3,000 plus videos, and I'm posting videos pretty much every day. So if you like my teaching style, just follow me on YouTube, and I will, be posting random videos. I do a lot of word problems as well. So if you like math, word problems, well, this is the channel for you. Now, in terms of a full course, right, I actually have a mini course called my Math Foundations course. You'll find a link to that in the description. This is a 3-chapter mini course. I cover all basic arithmetic, all the stuff that we're talking about, all the stuff that pretty much all of us forgot. So if you want to recapture those skills, check out my Math Foundations course. But if you want to recapture not only your basic math skills, but some algebra and geometry knowledge as well, then check out my Math Skills Rebuilder course. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about how to add fractions. So how do you add fractions? Well, we can't add fractions unless we have the same denominator. So for example, if I have 2/5 plus 1/5, I can add these fractions because the denominators are the same. So what do? Well, you simply just add the respective numerators. So that would be 2 plus 1 and put it over that common denominator, which of course is 5. So here you would have 3/5 as the answer. So what we need to look at when we're adding fractions is the denominators, okay? Now, if they're the same, all we have to do is add the numerators. Now, this goes for subtraction as well. So the way we add and subtract fractions is the same kind of procedure. Now, in this particular case, we have a mixed number fraction plus an improper fraction. Now, there's a couple options here, okay? Some of you can deal with this problem by just taking the 3/4 and adding to the 5/6. If you did it in that way, that's perfectly fine, right? But actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this mixed number fraction as an improper fraction. Okay, so the way we do that is we're going to take this 4 and we're going to multiply it by 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. That's my numerator over 4. So hopefully you remember how to do that. So you need to be able to go from an improper fraction to a mixed number fraction and vice versa, right? This is a critical basic math skill. Okay, so instead of 2 and 3/4, an equivalent fraction is 11 over 4 plus 5/6. Now, one other small thing here that I want to mention is stylistically, some of you might be saying, hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, you like writing your fractions with an angle fraction bar, or you see me writing it with a horizontal fraction bar, which is correct. Well, they're both perfectly fine. But I'm going to suggest that you start writing fractions in this manner, okay, with a horizontal fraction bar. It's just going to be much easier to deal with fractions in algebra. But if you like writing your fractions this way, no big deal. Okay, so here is our problem, 11/4 plus 5 over 6. So we can see that the denominators are not the same, all right? So what do? So some of you might be saying, hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, you got to find the LCD. Indeed, that's what we have to do. There's actually a little shortcut. So if you like math shortcuts, you got to check out my videos on how to add fractions without an LCD, without using LCD. Of course, you'll have to check out my YouTube channel or my other videos on YouTube for that. But in this particular case, we're going to review how to find the lowest common denominator because these denominators are not the same. Okay, so how do we find the LCD? Matter of fact, before I even tell you how to find the LCD, what is the LCD here? What is the lowest common denominator? What is the lowest number that both 4 and 6 have in common? Okay, so we're talking about multiples here, all right? As a matter of fact, I'll show you one way. So the multiples are multiples of 4 or what? Well, 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. Matter of fact, I should do this right here to really make this point. So 4, 8, 12, 16. So this is 4 times 4. 4 times 5 is 20. And then 4 times 6 is 24. Okay, how about 6? Multiples of 6, that's 6. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3, 18. 6 times 4 is 24. Now, what what multiples do these two sets here of numbers have in common? What we're finding here is actually what we call the lowest common multiple, which the lowest common multiple of these numbers is technically the LCD. So if you look here, they both have 24 in common. Okay, but that's not the lowest multiple. The lowest multiple is 12. Okay, so 12 is the lowest number that both 4 and 6 can divide into. So 12 is the LCD. Now, a lot of students are like, hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, you just wasted a bunch of time telling me how to find the LCD. I already knew the LCD was 12. Well, that is fantastic. But what if I made the denominators like 408 and 62 or something crazy like that? Well, then a lot of you might be saying, well, then I'm just going to leave your video, Mr. YouTube Math Man. I'm not dealing with that. Well, how do you find the LCD of big fractions like this? Well, the way you do this, okay, the way it's really kind of should be taught is obviously the lowest common multiple. But what you do is we factor these numbers. So I'm going to take this opportunity just to do a quick review of how to find the LCD. So 4, its prime factors is 2 times 2. So 2 is a prime factor. Okay, in other words, 2 is a prime number. So that's what 2 is. Again, prime numbers are numbers that can only be divided by themselves and 1. Okay, or only have factors 1 and themselves. That is a prime number. Okay, so 4, we can break that down as 2 times 2, which is 2 squared. So that's what 4 is equal to, and 6 is equal to 2 times 3. So these are the prime factors of the denominator. So the LCD, when you're really looking to find the LCD is equal to the product of the prime factors. Okay, so here we have 2 squared, and here we have 2. So you might be saying, well, which is which factors of 2 should we use? Do we need 2 squared and 2 to the first? No, you only take the highest power of the factor. So 2 is a factor here, 2 is a factor here. This is 2 to the first, this is 2 squared, so we need 2 squared. And we also have another prime factor, 3, that needs to be represented in our LCD. So 2 squared times 3 is what? Well, 2 squared is 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so there is the LCD of 12. So this is just a quick kind of review or introduction to how to really find the LCD. And this is critically important for you to understand not only in arithmetic but in algebra as well. Okay, so we know that the lowest common denominator is 12, but what does that mean? Well, it means that we want to take these denominators here and turn them into 12. We need to rewrite these fractions as equivalent fractions where the denominator is 12. So if I give you the fraction 1/2 and I say, hey, write me another fraction that's equivalent to 1/2 with a denominator of 12, no problem. Well, that would be 6 over 12, right? So I'm not changing the value of this fraction. I'm just writing it in a different way to get the denominator that I want. And that's what we need to do here is write new equivalent fractions such that 12 is the denominator. Okay, so how do we turn a 4 into a 12? Well, we turn a 4 into a 12 by multiplying by 3. How do we turn a 6 into a 12? Well, we just multiply that 6 by 2 and we have 12, but that's not the end of the story. Okay, so yes, indeed, to turn a 4 into a 12, we multiply by 3, but we also have to multiply the numerator by 3. So we have to multiply both the numerator and denominator by 3. So 3 times 11 is 33. 3 times 4 is 12. And same story over here. 6 times 2 is 12. That's what we want. But we also have to multiply the numerator by 2. So 5 times 2 is 10. Okay, so all that work just to get the problem right here. And a lot of you are kind of remembering. Now I remember way back in 1977 why I hated doing so much math, because it's just a lot of number crunching. Well, again, we're just kind of reviewing a lot of this basic math skills, but imagine if you lost your cell phone or if you didn't have a calculator and you had to do some basic math, this is what you would have to do. Okay, so we're almost done. Now we have two fractions. The denominators are the same, so all we have to do is simply add the numerators. Okay, so 33 over 12 plus 10 over 12. We're going to add the numerators, same denominator. So 33 plus 10. Well, I think I misspoke there. Okay, so 33 over 12 plus 10 over 12. Hopefully I said this correctly. So we're going to add the numerators. That's 33 and 10. So 33 plus 10 over 12. All right, so this is what we have to do. 33 plus 10, of course, is 43. Okay, so we have 43 over 12. And what we want to do here is to see if we can reduce this fraction we cannot reduce this fraction, so we are basically done, right? So in other words, if we ended up with like 40 over 20, well, obviously we wanted to simplify this, and our answer is 2. But one other tip here for those of you that still have to take math exams. So this is our improper fraction. As long as it's fully reduced, okay, you're fine. Don't take the extra step of saying, all right, Mr. YouTube Math Man, I'm going to turn this into a mixed number fraction. I'm going to go 43, and I'm going to take that 43 and divide it by 12 and do all the work here. Once you do this division, I've seen this thousands of times where students have the right answer with the improper fraction, but they feel compelled to change their answer into a mixed number. So they do the division and then they make mistakes over here and then they turn in the wrong answer. Well, they actually had the right answer, but they turn in the wrong answer because they feel compelled to turn an improper fraction into a mixed number fraction. So unless you're being told to do that by your math teacher or the instructions on a math exam, do not do that, right? Just fully simplify your improper fraction and you'll be good to go. All right, so hopefully a lot of you out there are saying, yes, Mr. YouTube Math Man, now I remember why math wasn't my favorite subject. Well, listen, I want to kind of have fun with these videos and hopefully you had some fun with this video as well. I can understand, that if you don't find this enjoyable, well, I get that, okay? But, having practical math skills, okay, especially being able to do simple math problems without a calculator is very valuable, right? So never underestimate the power of having strong arithmetic skills. But hopefully this little video helps you out. And if that's the case, don't forget to like and subscribe. And with that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your math adventures. Thank you for your time and have a great day.